Hi, everyone. Welcome to Curative Ibecta's Meal Kit number 75 for the week of October 27th to 30th. Thank you so much for ordering this week, and thanks for letting us be a part of your special celebration at home. We've got an amazing menu for you this week, and it's very locally driven because we're actually partnering with Feast On, which is an amazing organization that promotes local sustainable food, of which we have committed to at Becta. So at least 25% of all of our food and wine purchases come from Ontario, and actually a whole ton more from Western Quebec, so that it's, we really focus on the local. But tonight we've got some beautiful halloumi cheese that's made in Ontario. It's originally a cheese from Cyprus, but this version is from Ontario. I just took the butter off as it was bubbling away because I wanted to get ahead a little bit. And then we've got a lovely Ontario rainbow trout dish for your main course. So there's a few pots and pans here. I apologize. There's a couple extra dishes compared to normal. So why don't we go ahead and get started? It's pretty easy to finish, but it's there's a little work and a little bit of dishes. So I'm warming up 2 tablespoons of butter for my salt roasted beets. And then I've got my carrot puree going on in a little pot here, just on medium low. I've jumped ahead and put the sorghum in on low to warm up. That's for the main course. But first, let's start with the halloumi course. So we've got the salt roasted beets, and we're going to go for 5 minutes. They're in a bag so you don't stain your hands and they don't stain the rest of the ingredients. You can toss that little Ziploc bag away. Give it a little stir in the butter. These are going to be beautiful. And then I've got my pan here for our halloumi. So 1 tablespoon of oil, neutral oil per person. In this case, I'm using grapeseed oil, but you can use canola oil or vegetable oil. I'm going to turn this up a little bit because we want it to get to medium hot in order to be able to give it a nice little sear. The oven's not getting any use tonight, so this is what you see here is what you are getting. So while that's warming up, let me tell you about the 2 beautiful Ontario wines that we're doing tonight. So Rose Hall Run in Prince Edward County, and this is their Pinot Gris Hungry Point, which is named after an area in their vineyards. Delicate floral and bright citrus fruits on the nose, and the palate is dry and crisp with bright fruits like lemon, yellow pear, and apricot. I'm a big fan of this wine. And if you ever get to Prince Edward County, make sure to go and check out Rose Hall Run. I'll talk about the red in just a second, but I want to make sure my beets are getting nice and mixed around there. My sorghum for the main course. Let's make sure to give it a stir. Our carrot puree warming up nicely. All right, it's time for our halloumi. I'm going to crank up the heat on this puppy. So I think halloumi is the only cheese that doesn't melt when you cook it. I mean, if you leave it long enough, it's going to burn. But we want to go about 3 minutes on each side, and until golden brown, and then we're going to plate everything nicely. So that's going to go very quickly. So I can probably start getting the garnishes ready. Give that a little stir. I might go up a little warmer on the beets. Carrot puree should be good. And why don't I get the main course stuff ready as well. So let me put this guy on and this guy on lower temperatures. I know that the trout, same thing, neutral oil, 1 tablespoon per person. And with the veg, I think that's also the case. Yes. 1 tablespoon also, neutral oil per person. And I'll warm that up. Let's see how our halloumi is doing. Lovely golden brown on that side. So we got about 3 minutes left. All right, and let me see. I know I don't need to season the carrot puree, but I think I have to season the beets. Season well with salt and pepper. So why don't I do that now so I don't forget? And season them well, so a generous amount of salt specifically, because you don't want the sweetness to just dominate. All right, this guy's looking good, and as soon as I pull the halloumi off, then I can move the pans over because I prefer cooking on the gas. and then we'll get things rolling. Get my beautiful trout. Now we have gone ahead and cured the trout with a little bit of salt and sugar and fresh herbs and water. So the texture is just going to be super moist and delicious. Okay, so I'm going to turn the halloumi off now because it's starting to smoke a little bit. Let's see the other side. Yeah. Flip it over real quick and get the same amount on both. I'm going to take it off so we don't get in trouble. Hopefully this doesn't set off our smoke detector, because that would really suck during the video. I've never set off a smoke detector before. That would suck. Okay, so this guy can go off, that guy can go off, this guy can go a little hotter, this guy can go off. I'll pull the beets over here. But carrot puree goes down first. So what I'm going to do, a little dollop on each plate. I just love when you guys watch these videos and you give me feedback. Please send along emails. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you didn't like, because we always like to try to improve. And no smoke detector being set off. So that is awesome. So you can take the back of a spoon, sort of just run it through, and then that gives it a really nice texture. Okay. Carrot puree. Then we're going to put down this curdito, which is a El Salvadorian dish, which is fermented cabbage. And this is going to give it a really nice piquant quality to the dish, because you always want to balance, whenever you're creating a dish, you want to have a balance of sweetness, salt, umami, bitterness, and acidity. And this one certainly gives you the umami and the acidity. Okay, that guy's down. Now let's do the beets. And if a little butter comes along with that, that's okay. You don't want to put too much butter on this though, because you already have the sweetness from the carrot puree and from the beets. And then with this guy, I thought I wasn't going to use my knife tonight, but I forgot. We're going to cut the halloumi into 2 chunks, into 2 triangles. I think that looks pretty. And before I gussy this up, I'm going to get my squash going on for my main course. And I see that the oil is smoking for my trout. Okay, so squash is rocking. This guy, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And the trout is going to go skin side down. My pan got a little bit too hot, I think, but it's going to be just fine. Now tonight I am using a cast iron pan, and for the trout, we're going to do, oh, you know what? It said 2 ounces of canola oil per person. So I'm going to add a little bit more, which will also take the heat of the pan down. Always pay attention to the cooking instructions. And the squash is getting sauteed in its one. Turn that up just a bit. And in the meantime, let me show off this beautiful pan-seared halloumi with the roasted beets, carrot puree, and the curdito from El Salvador. All right, multitasking, back to it. Make sure that sorghum is getting toasted nicely, and it's also in 2 tablespoons of butter, or 1 tablespoon per person. Squash pan was a little bit behind, so it's warming up nicely. I want to see what I'm doing next. After 4 minutes, turn the pan to medium heat and add the kale to saute. After 2 minutes, then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter per person and stir. Almost ready on the kale, but first on the trout. Cook for 4 minutes, drain off the oil, and add 1 tablespoon of butter per person. Oh, so I'm going to need some more butter. This is a butter-heavy menu. But butter makes things delicious. I hear my trout popping. Okay. So, drain off the oil and add 1 tablespoon of butter per person. So we've got this. I'm going to drain it into the container it came in, make it super easy. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, butter is there, or so the oil is there, and we are going to butter bathe this puppy. And I only put in 1 tablespoon total. Should have been 1 tablespoon per person. And so the heat of this is going to keep cooking it. Oh, my squash. Nice and brown. I'm going to turn the heat down, throw the Rito Pines kale in there. We've got 3 different kinds. Make sure that's working away. Now as the butter is melting, I can spoon it on top. I'll turn the heat back on this guy just a little bit more. Just make sure the butter melts nicely. I'm going to butter bathe it, and then we're going to turn it over for the last 2 minutes with the heat off. Butter bathing fish is an amazing way to go. It gives it a luxurious quality to it, even if it's not a super fatty fish like salmon. And I know we got some butter in there too. Okay, delicately flip the trout over. A plastic spatula like this is great for it. Now I'm going to turn the heat off and let it sit for 2 minutes. Whoops, look at me dropping things. I'll turn the heat off on the sorghum. Mix the butter in here. And I know I need to season the veg with salt and pepper. And I need to get the dessert out of the fridge as well. It's meant to come out just at fridge temperature. Let me plate this up quickly. Turn off all of my pots while it's finishing to cook. So we've got a Honeycrisp apple tart, and it's got some homemade granola and some Honeycrisp apple compote. All local and delicious. Tart in the center of the plate, top with the apple compote, sprinkle crumble on top. There we go. Make sure to get all of that nice juice in there. This reminds me of the fall. And this is Tuesday night that I'm recording this, and It is definitely fall weather today. Lots of rain, but I hear it's supposed to be beautiful there on the week. So there is our lovely Honeycrisp apple cheesecake tart. All right, let's go with the main courses. For plating, sorghum on the center of the plate, followed by the veg, and then topped with the trout. So I'm using a beautiful coupe plate tonight, just to mix things up a little bit. Sorghum, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a wonderful, tasty, and nutty ancient grain. It's super good for you. And just spread it around. All right. And then next is going to be our veg. Did I pull the tongs out? I have some. Let me use these. Make sure to spread it out so you get all the colors around when you're plating your trout. You can still see the other gorgeous things around. And your choice if you want to add a little bit of the butter, but I'm a big fan of butter, so there we go. And now the lovely rainbow trout. We are going to go skin up because it looks beautiful. Clean up plates. And then finally, we've got our parsley and almond pistou. And we're going to go on top of the trout. And around the plate. I don't know which one is going to be more beautiful. I think we're going to go with this one because there's more purple in the kale. Kale comes out really nice in the pictures. So there is our lovely pan-seared Ontario rainbow trout with the sorghum, local squash, and 3 types of kale, and our parsley and almond pistou. I hope you love your meal. Thanks so much for ordering this week, and we really hope to be able to cook and curate for you again really soon.